Good day, beautiful people. You are watching the Culture Dome, first episode of 2020 here on Young Boss Media. I am joined today by SaulPaul, nationally touring and award-winning musician, speaker, entrepreneur, and now author of his own autobiography, Be the Change, A Story of Transformation, just released last fall. We're gonna sit down with him and Jamel Henderson today to talk about current events, play a couple of games, and talk about his book, SaulPaul's book, that is. Jamel, his book's still in the works, so he'll be having that out. But Jamel's on another show on Young Boss Media called The Vanguard, so he is our political specialist because we got so much going on, including a close to war, that we decided to bring him on to talk about a little bit of extra politics today. All right, y'all, how you doing?
Good.
We just gonna jump in and say, hey,
Yes.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, new decade.
Happy Three Kings Day.
All that.
All of the things.
Hey.
So obviously, 2020, I went into it and I was like, nice year. We're just rolling in real smooth. And then within a couple of days.
What's beef?
Right.
Yeah.
Within a couple of days.
Yeah.
It was like, I went on social media and was like, oh, did something happen? Did I miss something? Because I was chilling in New Orleans, minding my own black business with other black people and delicious black food. And all of a sudden, I turned around and I seen that we might go to war or something. For those of you who don't know,
headshots.
Tension between U.S. and Iran has been at all-time highs. There's been videos out and protests of people in the streets in Iran burning American flags, saying that to America. But it really all started last December. Well, really it all started in like 2001, but let's pretend it all really started in last December, because I could have bet money that we would have had an issue with Iran from the time I was in college. So for the last decade, I've been like, but why are we setting up all these bases around Iran though? What we trying to do to Iran though? Anyway, Washington blames an Iranian-backed militia for the death of an American contractor who was over in Iraq actually, and bombed bases that are set up in Iran right now. They also blamed on an Iranian-backed militia. So in response, or allegedly in response to that, the U.S. had attacks that happened in Baghdad. There were protesters in front of the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad after the attack. And then on January 3rd, the event that most of us kind of heard about, a powerful military figure, his name is, I don't even know if I'm saying this right, Qasim Soleimani. Qasim, okay, thank you. Soleimani.
Yeah.
Okay, so Qasim Soleimani, which is like the second most senior military figure in Iran's military, was killed by a U.S. drone strike. And so that was like the domino. That's beef.
What's beef?
Right. So now it's hot. Like, this is no longer a Cold War. This is a hot war. This is no longer a cyber issue. It's the block.
I'm just gonna say everything.
Say all the terms.
I'm gonna
please.
translate it as we go.
It's really like a soft
segue
segue into your book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
the block is hot.
The block is hot. This is like a macro version of what goes on in these streets.
And watching the news is like watching World Star.
Right.
Like, you see crazy videos.
Unfortunately, that's more true than it should be, because Trump is also kind of going hard in the paint for someone
who. He's getting views though,
he's getting the views
up.
But you know what's funny is they brought up that thing that he had tweeted years ago during the election that Obama was going to start.
The war with Iran.
Like the play, he basically detailed
the whole play. He was like, well, watch, Obama's going to start a war with Iran to try to win this election, and he said it like 5 times.
You see, I would say the difference that took, so there's several factors we got to look at this, right? And as someone who studies this, you got to pay attention to how everything is set up. These things are not intentional, right? So when this situation similarly happened in 1996, when President Clinton was impeached, he also tried to go to war. And that situation kind of overshadowed the impeachment for a bit. But the difference was social media wasn't prevalent yet.
Right, that makes a difference.
Internet was not prevalent yet. So what you saw on the television screen was what it was. So you didn't have the access yet to be like, let me do some fact checks or let me see how this is similar. Today, you have that because the same pattern is happening at the same exact way, the way how it happened in 1996.
Yeah.
So Trump is impeached. This situation happens, and it's an election year. doesn't make sense, right? And so
does it?
there are a lot of Americans now who's taking the time because Google and today's technological world are paying attention. So they're doing their own research and they're calling it out.
Yeah.
Like, no, this doesn't make no sense. I'm questioning the credibility behind this.
like a magic trick,
Where's the
like,
proof?
no.
And this is like how you mentioned 2001 all over again. When the rhetoric was, we knew that Osama bin Laden killed, was the mastermind behind 9/11, but yet bin Laden went from bin Laden to Saddam, where the country was like, yeah, Saddam did it. And I'm like one of the few people who study politics, like, no, guys, bin Laden admitted it, and yet why are we pushing it towards this way?
Well, you know what's kind of crazy? Because really, I feel like most black people were skeptical of everything about 9/11. Like at first when it happened, everybody was super patriotic, but within like a good 7-year span of us just being constantly at war, I know because I was in high school, by the time that we were really at war, a lot of people I knew from my graduating class had gone to Iraq. It wasn't like people that we knew hadn't really been there. And then people who had gone and done cycles and things like that would come back and be like, I really didn't feel like that was worth it, right? Like there was something about the idea behind the war, a lot like the Vietnam War, where people kind of didn't get it anymore, where it was like, wait a minute, wasn't it supposed to be this country, not that country? What was I really doing when I was over there? And then it's like enough to really make people say, well, I don't want to re-sign a contract with the military. I'm out. Because
That's
people
crazy.
are leaving with PTSD and all this crazy stuff, and they don't even know why. They're not coming back to a hero's welcome because a lot of people did not like President Bush.
No.
He was not popular for having that war, and as much as people were like, good to go to war, we got to send a message, when we're 10, 11 years in, by the time that we got to like
Let the data know.
2010, right, everybody was cheering to say, get the troops out.
Right.
Because it wasn't like a great idea, even in anybody's mind. And it really hasn't been since Vietnam to go to war. People are not like, war heroes, this is awesome. That's like a very small group of people now. But the
We named
problem
5.
is,
Yeah.
it's just kind of like, it's profitable. It
But can I-
brings a lot of attention.
I think the difference is between, and I have to say this too, President Bush, even though many of us don't agree with him, I personally haven't agreed with his politics, but he was still, in some ways, respected around the world. What's happening right now is that the United States of America is not respected, period. Like, the way how it's set up is Trump came in and literally, as we all know, based on the factual evidence and even our personal experience and opinion, undid everything Obama did. Anything that had Obama on it, canceled. And so he literally isolated the United States from the rest of the world. There's never, ever been in our history where world leaders publicly embarrassed the president in the magnitude that has happened right now. Not on camera. Usually you hear some side eyes from correspondents and stuff like that, but not like Trudeau and Boris Johnson, all of them laughing and cackling at the United States president on live TV. You've never seen that before. So what's happening is you're setting things up where we're by ourselves, right? And so this situation with Iran does not make it better. I say if we are to go to war, we're in serious trouble because we disrespected France. All of our allies, they don't like all of our allies except Israel are like, you know what, I'll rock out with you.
Yeah.
Because this is like, other world leaders know this is not the way to go. And in the midst of this, election year now that we're in it, Trump is going to do whatever he can to stay in office. And if that means amplifying this to make it a war, he will do it.
Well, here's the thing, right? Because then the first thing happened, and then there was that plane crash.
Yes.
And then Iran took credit for it.
Yes, which was
But-
very...
So the thing
plane
about
bombing?
it is, so essentially there's 176 people on board of the plane.
Yeah.
Most of them, I think almost none of them are Americans.
Just
Right.
civilians, yeah.
Right?
just
There's
maybe one.
civilians from Ukraine,
Right.
there's civilians from Europe, all over the place. And so essentially exactly what you're saying starts to become addressed.
Yeah.
We're not going to start the conspiracy game early in the show. I'm just going to make a face
Right.
and move on with the
Right,
facts.
there you go.
The real problem is that nobody knew exactly what happened because it was an accidental airstrike.
Yes.
Right? So the plane comes down, a bunch of people die, they're
We're kind of skipping
civilians.
over a lot right there. That's
Right.
a powerful phrase, right? Accidental airstrike.
Right, and so Iran
They
says,
shot a
oh,
plane
you know
full of
what, it was
people."
actually a military airstrike that went wrong, it was programmed wrong, and we accidentally hit a plane. The problem is that exactly what you're saying is happening, is coming to
Yeah.
fruition, right? Like if this was like the final season of America, and we just sort of were like in the show, and we were like, dang, but nobody's gonna get down with a war with Iran because, like, you know, what is Iran really doing? As anything but problems for U.S., right? But the real thing is that once the commentary starts around, like, well, we're gonna take responsibility for this, and then on top of that, there's already issues related to Islamophobia. It does make you wonder how easy is it to kind of start a culture, like a zeitgeist around something where it's like, because we're already so used to those people being the enemy.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we grew up and we knew what it was like before 9/11, and we know what it was like after. But I've met people who are 18 years old, and they actually just think Muslims are more likely to be terrorists, right? Like, it worked. Essentially, the messaging around 9/11 really was effective. There were a lot of people of all races who were really down for the idea that it like would make America badass to go to war with Iran, that like they're evil, they're terrorists, all this other stuff. And as much as it's like Iran has their own issues, especially considering that they just found billions of dollars worth of oil that they really were trying to
Keep on
have
that.
people, you know, pay taxes on. It to me didn't seem like a coincidence that the timing of this was what it was, because in 1996 it's a similar thing, right? Like, why do political leaders get taken out tends to sort of be like, well, we just want money for our people who are brown. Well, we just want you to pay, you know, taxes on the bananas.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's like, nah, like we're not trying to do that. Like that would mess up our economic flow if we had to pay
Yeah,
for that.
and I mean, the mere fact that that report came out that Iran is sitting on like 53 billion barrels of oil, and you tie that with what's happening
Within
with the
days.
narrative of what 9/11 did with going with the United States changing narrative from Afghanistan to Iraq for oil. And remember, we did not find any weapons of mass destruction, period. So you're looking at, okay, what's the real case? So we got 53 billion barrels of oil. The United States would love that. Let's be clear on that. The United States would love that.
We would all love that.
Right.
I would like that individually.
So the question then becomes, what do you do? Because if you do intentionally target this, then there's a mountain of evidence that's making it seem like, okay, you're not really there to help the people. And I don't even know if the people are crying out for leadership, because if you saw that funeral for General Soleimani, that joint was something I've never seen in my life, ever. I mean, hundreds of thousands.
But people who didn't see it, describe the scene.
Well, all right, so if you get a chance to, you know, you can YouTube it. I mean, they had aerial views of like drone views of the streets. And I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of people came out in, you know, in solemn solidarity for their fallen general, you know.
I mean, I'm in New York. I gotta say it. My pop-up filter's blocked. I'm like, I guess it was like an amplified version of when Big died.
Right, but much big. I mean, people were wailing, and like I've never seen a foreign leader like passing that tragic, and that lets me know that, you know, this is a different type of citizenry where they are very serious about, you know, their leadership, and we was just trying to literally do our own thing, you know, like mind our business, and now you got us involved, and now Trump is trying to add this rhetoric. Then on top of that, the people in Iran are saying, listen, we don't hate the American people.
Right, like they actually took it back when they said that. They were like, we want to be specific. When
Let's
we say debt to
specify.
America, we just mean the American administration that's in charge of the troops being stationed in our country.
And I think about all of my good friends who are in the military right now. This is not fair to them. It's not. It's not. They should be, if we're going to be doing something, we should be doing something that's going to really help to build American democracy, not make ourselves an empire.
Well, you know, it's interesting because this is on the heels of a decision at the 2020 Olympic Games to ban protests that are political in any sort of way, right? And so in light of the last 4 years, we are now absolutely banned from doing anything political at the Games. And obviously, the Olympic Games have been political, notoriously, you know, at the 1963 Games, that Jesse Owens kind of has his moment where he's raised his fist. But then on top of that, like, Hitler used the Olympics as a sort of playing field to prove that the Aryan race was better than everybody else. So inherently, that's just political just on its face.
Where's the Olympics at this year?
Japan.
Yes, we were going to Tokyo.
Japan.
Whole different.
And Japan's a lot more conservative in terms of that, just because it's thousands of years old. They done had really extreme violent uprisings and sort of all sorts of military kind of policies around just staying isolated. But it's interesting because it's like, I don't think there could have been a worse year for people not to be able to protest, because there's been so much that's happened in just this last 4-year span since the last Olympics. Like, what if we put Obama, if it was like, oh, you can't protest during this, I'd have been like, okay. But in the post-Colin Kaepernick age, to tell people that they can't protest really just feels like a response to American black people protesting here.
And of course, in response to that is people are still going to protest. Like,
I mean, almost maybe more so because they said, don't, people are going to be out there.
It's like, don't touch that stove. You mean this one? It's like, yeah, of course I'm going to touch it.
Well, so I'm just throwing that out there as a side.
The athletes are banned? Is it like attendees?
All the athletes are not allowed to do any sort of political thing. They came out with a statement and said, when an individual makes their grievances, however legitimate, more important than the feelings of their competitors and the competition themselves, the unity and harmony as well as the celebration of sport and human accomplishment are diminished.
Wow.
Which is what the international committee from the IOC
So in
said.
other words, what I heard was, you could be from Nigeria, I could be from the United States, you could be from Trinidad, and we all have the same struggle, but we can't share to the world what we're really dealing with. We just got to focus on the sport. So you the best in track, I'm the best
in. Shut up and play.
Yeah, just shut up and play.
Right,
pretty much.
Shut up
Right,
and dribble. Here we are.
And so I'm supposed to ignore all of our experiences. And to the world, we know that if we present that to the world will be in solidarity, because there are parts of the world that are going through the similar, if not worse, experiences.
Yeah. So
it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. I doubt that it will.
Well, so something that people may or may not know about SaulPaul is he used to do something on ESPN called The Wrap Up.
Yep.
Because he is an excellent, fantastic freestyler.
Recap rap, the rewind, yep.
And so I'm wondering if you would bless us before this little break with a little wrap up. Can you do a little?
That's wild.
The world is
I
crazy.
do impromptu, and then you're like for real, like, can I get a beat? You're like,
what could we do?
I'm not good at beat. I'm good at a lot of things.
If we had a 12-year-old here, they'd be like, listen, let's take, give me a pencil.
I know,
I got right.
Even if you can't, I just want to put you on the spot real quick.
I definitely could. I don't want to leave. I don't want to study my record and be like,
and be like, can't do it.
I would have brought my guitar and everything. I could have.
Oh, dang.
How about?
I should have told you. I should have prepped you.
So you want it now a cappella, or you want to save it for another break and then I have my guitar and we do it?
You have your guitar with you?
I don't leave home without it. So
oh, you know what? We're going to wrap up another segment then. Okay. We'll do it after we do your interview then so you can grab your guitar.
Make sure you get it right.
Yeah, get it right.
All right, so we're going to get a little deeper into the story of SaulPaul, the man, the myth, the legend, and of course he's going to do a freestyle for us as promised with his guitar when we get back from this break on Young Boss Media, the Culture Dome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jamel Henderson, the host of the Vanguard television show here at Young Boss Media TV. If you want to be interested in finding out a little bit more of who I am and the work that I'm doing, please take the time to go on my website at www.jamelhenderson.com. Look forward to interacting with you. Have a wonderful day.
Welcome back to the Culture Dome. We're here joined with Jamel from the Vanguard and SaulPaul, author of his autobiography, Be the Change. And so we are just going to get a little bit deeper into things here. We've obviously been talking politics and all that other stuff, but we have not told you too much about the great things that are going on with our friend SaulPaul here, which is a shame because there's really wonderful things going on.
Me, man. It's deep. It's like I like to stay in my lane. I don't know. I think the MC in me likes to make my words count.
Yeah.
So that was heavy. What we were just talking about. I don't know. I'm interested to see how that will play out during the Olympics because I don't think people will be silenced just because of people said be quiet.
That's never
and
how
that
it
platform,
works.
That's not how it works.
That's never how it works.
So that's why people really use their platforms for that, and I understand and I appreciate it. I know that's what I do with mine.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of, hip hop is one of the most notorious music forms for being a protest music, a music of the people from the bottom up, not from the top down. That is really just about what can you create, what can you do with what you got, you know what I mean? And then really telling the truth in a way that I think, because there's more space for Black people to be angry and violent and things like that, that strangely, it actually becomes one of the few art forms where people are really just directly saying, this is what it's like to live in this condition in this country. And it's been what makes hip hop so appealing to people in places like the Middle East and like South Africa and Central Africa.
I did a song with some friends, Bongi and Colin from South Africa.
There you go.
They sang the chorus in Zulu. Side note, I love telling the story because I met him. You know, I met him in the States, and then we recorded the video for it when we were both in France at the same time, in Cannes, South France. But anyway, I remember being like, "Cool, we should do this song together. Y'all can sing it, and y'all can sing it in South African." Side note, there's no such language as South African. I didn't know.
You know.
They giggled. They're like, no. I'm like, they're like, we don't speak South African. I'm like, what do you speak? They're like, we have 111 languages.
Oh yeah, they do.
I was like, okay, hold up, but like, how about the main one? They're like, it's like 11 main ones.
I was gonna say, they got 13 official languages over there. It's deep.
I'm like, just pick one. So they're saying in Zulu. But anyway, people connect with the music, and like I mentioned, when I was in France, you know, you hopped in an Uber, and like they listen to hip hop in French. Right, but it's the same difference. And then I'm like, but dude, what are they talking about? You can hear it. You can hear the aggression. You can hear the pain. And I'm talking to my Uber driver, and he spoke English. I'm like, what are they talking about? He was talking about the struggle. And, you know, then I've done my research, and I've listened to, you know, music from across the planet, hip hop.
Yeah.
And it's one reason why it traveled from here in New York across the planet. It's been around for 4 decades, and it's a platform and it's a tool, you know. So, yeah.
So let's talk about your music specifically.
Okay.
Right, because you're an interesting combination of somebody who's very money focused, who shifts into sort of more of a focus on content, like in terms of like making sure that what you're saying isn't just a story, but also something that sort of feels like this is a good thing to say. Like make your words count in a very real way. You're not throwing away songs like a lot of rappers are.
Not at all.
It feels like every song has sort of a very clear intention behind it, that you know what you're saying, you know who you are.
Yeah.
Tell us about how you go about choosing what you're gonna actually write and how you do that.
Thank you for that. Yeah, to touch on that money focused, because people confuse that, especially when you talk about hip hop and you talk money.
Yeah, sure.
Now, I just discovered that through entrepreneurship,
sure,
I could have the freedom to do what I wanted to do. Right? Like people connect to that rebelliousness of hip hop. But I even think that we talked off camera about gentrification. Like, what's the solution?
Yeah, sure.
It's a big problem. There's no like
one
scratch
thing.
It off and say this is it. Part of it though is economic empowerment. Okay, if the rent's too high, make more money. I know that offends some people. They're like, no. I'm like, I don't know, but I have this different mentality. Like, cool. So what's the cost? Okay, cool. Let's do what we have to do to get our funds up so we can afford the cost.
Yeah.
Not letting anybody off the hook because of unfair systems.
Yeah.
But recognizing. So that's what when it came to music, I realized through economic empowerment, if I could get my coins up, then I could do what I wanted to do, and I wouldn't have to wait for a gatekeeper to give me permission. I wouldn't have to allow someone else to okay it. I could just do what I wanted to do. So yeah, I definitely created my own model.
Yeah.
So I could have economic freedom, be an entrepreneur. And now, because I do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, I speak to the people about living your best life now. You know what I'm saying? Recognizing and observing the systems that are around you. So one, because you can't change it if you don't see it.
Yeah.
So one, you got to recognize it. And then two, even understanding like what does success look like. So for example, you know, hop in anytime with a question, because this is what I do. I talk right, I'll go, but I want to say I was successful. Like I grew up in the trap in H-Town, that's Houston, right? My mom died when I was 3. My dad left before I was born. I'm in foster care. I grew up in the ghetto on food stamps and Social Security. My grandmother adopted me. She raised me on a fixed income. My cousins I looked up to were like big time dope dealers, right? Like Nino Brown. So I want to be like them when I grow up.
Yeah.
But the whole deal is I get arrested by the FBI when I'm 17.
Yeah.
I go to the penitentiary when I'm 20. The reason why is because I was good at trapping. I was good at being bad.
You was smart.
Yeah, but check this out. I was successful. Wait a minute, that don't make sense. You said I went to the penitentiary.
Right.
Because I was successful.
Yeah.
No, I was successful. I was like, the goal was hit licks, hustle, do this, right? It's like nobody ever thought it through though, at least in my community, like, yeah, but when you succeed at this is the outcome. Success is not the outcome, success is part of the process, right? So it was like, I was successful, but you know, in one of my previous books, Dreaming 3D, I said it would suck, like, you know, hip hop, we remix stuff. So there's the phrase, right, climb the ladder to success.
Yeah.
My remix on that, the twist is like, yeah, it would suck to climb the ladder to success, only to find out it's leaning up against the wrong building. So me, I'm in the penitentiary and I'm just like, they ain't tell me, I succeeded. Now I'm in the penitentiary convicted of 4 felonies and got 10 years. And so that made me mad because the truth is, man, if we want to talk about deep in systems, like, man, how do people, like, when corporate America gives platform to the voices that are trapped in the pain, I mean, trapped in the struggle, you know, and all they can communicate is pain and aggression, and then that becomes the template, and that's why everybody imitates it.
Yeah.
Like, I basically just succeeded at what was in front of me, and I took pride in it. I did it best. Yeah, that's why I got arrested by the FBI. You get arrested by city cops, I'm big time. I get arrested by the FBI. You get county jail time. I went to the penitentiary. You know, there's levels to it, and I was like, this sucks. And so I realized that when I changed my content, I wasn't even doing music at this point, but I realized that if I wanted to share my content the way I wanted to, all of a sudden these platforms weren't available, right? Like y'all don't get the same support to that.
No.
You get the same support to my ignorant brother who don't know any better because he just haven't seen it. Ignorant means not to know. I know, I'm woke, I'm open, whatever, right? But you don't support me, so that's why I had to figure out how to do it my way.
Yeah.
You know, so just like Harriet Tubman or somebody, right? Like.
Just like.
It's like, I don't need y'all's help. I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna get this away, get the information to the people, and let the people run with it.
Well, you know, it's interesting. So let me do the little visual plug for the Be the Change story of transformation. One of the things that I thought was really interesting was your description of how people responded to you in college, right? Because I think that gives a little bit of insight into why it is that people do just stay kind of into this, even superficially, even if it's nothing to do with who they are, right? Why it is that someone would climb that ladder,
right,
and then get rewarded for it and really sort of like it. Because for you, it sounds like it did not just happen like, oh, I made one mistake and then now I get it. It really feels like you stumbled a couple of times because you're also smart, right?
Yeah.
You're coming from a place where people think you're cool. And then on top of that, like you have the ability to really get out a little bit. Right, so you go to college. You actually went to school for.
I went to an all-white. I said this wrong last night. Let me see, PWI.
That's what they call them. That's what they calling them out here.
Well,
now.
you know, they gotta have theirs because we got HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. So you know, you can't have
what
one
does PWI stand for again? Primarily white.
Predominantly white institutions.
Yeah. So, AKA, I went to a white university. Right, 52,000 students. Only 3% of them were African American. That's like 1,500, right? Like UT, University of Texas. I bleed orange. I love it. These are just the numbers, right? So out of that 52,000, a little bit over 1,500 were black, and if you take out the athletes, it's like us basically, right?
It's like we all of us.
There's a student union. This is all that, right?
Out of us three, it's like cool, but as it should be, like you got a great mama and a daddy. You grew up in the suburbs, and you had a single mom, and she was awesome and made a way. And I'm from the trap though, right? So it was like
still different.
I was still, and it's crazy because it also goes back to hip hop, right? That's why the world is feeding off of the cool of hip hop.
Yeah, and people love it.
They get to live vicariously though, right? Like I get to live through it, but I get to go back. That's the privilege. So people like me, I came from the trap, and here I am in college, and they're like, wow, you like a real 3D, like real life hood dude.
Yeah.
And so even though I had made it out, I was like, oh, I played to it. Because, I mean, it's who I was, and it was just like, well, I changed. Like, this is what people like. But again, I don't get to take off my blackness. I don't get to take off my hoodness. I don't get to take off, my struggle. Like, that follows me. Like, every day I wake up, I realize I'm an African-American male. I realize that I'm black. I realize that prejudice is real. But again, I didn't know all this then. I just knew, like, wow, like they feeling my vibe. And so
what could you tell, like as a person who was really coming from an experience where it's like, my parents are both gone now. I'm raised by my grandmother, and she passed when you were 17, which is something that you didn't really mention about before you went in, right?
Yeah.
But the timing of that is not a coincidence, right?
No.
Which it isn't for a lot of people, really. This
Yeah.
idea of having hope and having this safety within all of that, I think
Man,
that's a
power.
really big deal. It's something that people don't often glorify, right? But it is something that you do,
Yeah.
right? You really sort of explicitly say that if my grandmother didn't, like that even in your own family, you could see the difference between how you felt about yourself and how other people did, just based on the idea that it's like, this woman really loves me
Shout out to all the
unconditionally.
matriarchs. Like,
Word. And
that's
there's-
why, like, I'm
and there's
for you
a
saying,
lot
I'm
of
just like,
people-
man, the power.
There's a lot of
'cause-
people being raised by grandmothers and aunties and other people in their family who are not their mothers.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of times it's just not, it's not the way that the story breaks down in families that are more complicated, right? Because anything can happen in a neighborhood where people are going through trauma. So the hard part is that, you know, even though people, when you get to University of Texas, everybody looking at you, they're like, oh, this dude's dope, he's coming from the trap, whatever, like, that's gonna be my man, like, you know, he's really like streets. Like, I'm sure people are excited
Bad
about
boy
it.
for real, yeah.
But then the other side of that is that the confidence you had in hustling, the same confidence you had in college, it's the same confidence, even though you
That's why-
shifted lanes.
That's why I'm so passionate about what I do and I'm purposeful. Yeah, because fast forward what ends up happening, I get to college, and then, like, this is what I do, right? Like, I'm a musician with the message. Like, I'm dope. I know I'm good with the bars. I realize that provides me a platform, but I have an inherent responsibility to do more than just be personally successful. So I challenge people with that all the time. Like, hey, maybe you're not the one that's in the struggle. Maybe you feel like me, like, I got it going on too. Cool, who cares? Like, how much are you doing there? Like, do you recognize your responsibility? It's not okay for you just to be straight and for you not to look out. Like, life's not fair. If life was fair, my mama wouldn't have died. My daddy wouldn't have left. Life's not fair. Yeah, I'm smart and I have a certain skill set, so I cannot focus on me. Like, I have to focus on we. I might even have to go find we. I have to put in the work to understand how to talk to us so that we hear it. Like that, and so when you say stuff like, yeah, you can hear the purpose and the intentionality in the music. That's a compliment because it's intentional. And still, and it takes more work to be able to say like, nah, I'm gonna keep it hip hop. I'm gonna keep it art, but I'm gonna keep this message right in front of people. Cause I didn't know that. So long story short, I'm in college. I flunk out. I made it to college without ever studying, cause like I am smart. I wish more black boys would recognize, like, not cause you say it, like I'm smart. Like, no, like, it's a gift. I don't know. Just like I used to smoke weed with cats that played football. Right? Shoot dice and smoke weed, right, when I was coming up. And, like, they were, like, star athletes, got scholarships, went to D1 schools. They didn't practice. Like, it's a gift. Like, how you smoking weed, you don't even practice, and you better than everybody on the field. It's just a gift. We all got gifts. Somebody's great at math. Somebody's a great leader. Somebody's a great chef, culinary artist. Like, we all have a gift. So my gift was, yeah, I'm smart. That's why I got arrested by the FBI. I used to think different, like, oh, we hustling like this? What's the next level to that?
And to be clear, you were not dealing drugs for the majority of the sort of stuff that you were doing, even though that's what people you saw were doing. Right? You had stepped up the efficiency of your game. So by the time you were 17, you were making money.
Counterfeit money, yeah. I was like,
making counterfeit money.
We
I
said-
should be clear, not making money in
Well,
that direction,
I love
but
it. Right?
both.
I was making money, but it's because I was making
real money
and then I
making-
was selling money. Like, a point that I make to the young people, just because you're smart, that doesn't mean you can't make dumb decisions.
Absolutely.
And just because you make dumb decisions, this is where we get stuck at. Just because you make dumb decisions doesn't mean you're not smart.
Which might be the more important thing
Oh,
to
yeah,
keep in
definitely.
mind.
But
Because
see,
people
that's-
will definitely blanket statement just be like, well, you're...
I'm looking at your choices.
Yeah,
You make dumb
absolutely.
decisions. You ain't that smart. So I talk down to you. And then if you don't have a Pearly, that's my grandmother, right? You don't have a Big Mama, that's my grandmother. See, I knew, like, Big Mama was like, boy, I love you. Like, I didn't even know I was poor. I grew up in the hood amongst all the poor people, but it was only after I went to college that I discovered, like, oh, snap. Like I was lower class. I'm like the little baby I used to see on the commercials from Africa with flies flying around their head. Like, I was poor like that and didn't even realize it.
Wow.
Because my grandmother was so amazing. You know what I'm saying? When you got like love.
I know you say it's not poor, it's po. You can't afford the OR.
You know what I'm
right?
saying? Like, it was like, but love makes up for a lot of that you don't have. Plus that
Absolutely.
confidence. And she was like, baby, you're going to be great. We talked about the military. Like, the military has never been interesting to me. Salute to all the vets. But, like, that was just not an option for me because of how it was perceived in my household. My
Which
grandmother,
was?
like, no, you're not going to the military. But she came from a different era.
Yeah.
And she saw things that I didn't see, and she felt a certain way about the military and how they exploited young black males.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Right? So
That's a fact.
I can see it. Like,
Sure.
I put it together now. She didn't say all this. She didn't articulate like that. But now I'm realizing
That's
she
why
is
she
like,
didn't
she
want
like,
you to
nah,
do it.
man. Like, it was not, I knew how to get a rise out of her. If I, you have a great relationship with your parents, you like to mess with them. I'll just be like, you know what? I decided, Mama, I'm gonna go to the Army. Like,
Right,
she have a
sign
heart
it
attack
up.
in that moment. No, you're not, because I just knew that she was like, nah with that. But I see why.
Yeah.
But from her experience, it was something you were talking about off camera, right? Like, from days of old, she had saw how we were exploited, how we were taken advantage of, and she was like, you won't be doing that. You're going to get an education. You will succeed. And what she also modeled for me was service. You know what I'm saying? Just because you grow up. Again, one reason I know we grew up poor is because, like, people came to our house and got food.
Yep.
How we getting powdered milk and government cheese and food stamps.
That long brick of cheese.
Yeah, so you got to push down on it like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And people
oh, yeah.
came to our house to get food.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
how? Because
Yeah.
she didn't sit up and complain about, like, the lack we had. It was more about, like, I know whatever I needed, I had. I used to exploit that. Like,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
hustle to get some J's, to get some money would be like, I need something for school. Like, she never said no.
Yeah.
If I said, hey, I need this for school, she just win.
And as a result, you will always fly.
But I love it, though, because that's influenced me as an adult. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah, and it seems like
I
that
still gotta
part of
give
you is
back
there
and serve.
too.
Yeah.
That
So-
sort of mindfulness around community and not just self.
Yeah.
But that there is sort of a purpose of just being open and having love and making sure people are taken care of,
Damn.
which is a bigger deal to some people than others. But particularly in our community, it's a really big deal, especially
Yeah.
when you go somewhere where there isn't that, right? Like if I'm in a business environment, 9 times out of 10, it's like I'm the unusual one. I don't really belong in this culture.
Come on, man.
So just one person, really speaking
Your
to you in a
presence is a
real
presence,
way.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And just so people know, you didn't just drop out of UT and then that was it. And then, you decided to start rapping and learned all your lessons after that. You went back.
Yeah,
And
no.
you finished.
Yeah, what
And
happened
you
was
finished well
I
at
flunked
that.
out of college because I made it to college without ever studying. So it made sense, right? I'm trying to give people jewels. I'm trying to figure out like how to fix people. Well, understand their reality. My reality was I made it to college on an academic scholarship and never studied. Tell me why I would think now I need to study.
Right.
Like-
Which happens to a lot of people, by the way, where it's
You
like,
know?
I'm smart enough to do this in high school, so why wouldn't this work now?
Why not, right? Because I don't have a functional family to teach me and tell me. And now my reality is I got 18 years of experience of one thing. Why would I think different? So what happened is, yeah, you do have to study when you go to college, right? So I get to college.
Turns out.
I didn't know that though, right? Like I didn't
Yeah,
listen.
word.
I didn't listen. So I flunk out, lose my scholarship, go back to hustling, get convicted of 3 additional felonies because I had one when I was 17 in high school. So that made 4. They sent me to the penitentiary. I got 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in the penitentiary, and no different than I'm looking at y'all. I'm looking at these dudes I'm locked up with, and now all of a sudden I'm realizing like, man, they lied to us. Like, they lied to you, because I'm hearing you talk, and you about to lie. They lied to you. They lied to me. But what I noticed about the other 2, like, they didn't catch on, right? You can't change what you don't own. I was like, yeah, I was lied to, but I did it, and I owned it. What you own, you can change. I was like,
Yeah.
that's on me. So long story short, I'm like,
What
I ain't
you
coming
own, you
back
can
here no more.
change. Yeah, let's
Like,
say that again.
I'm done. Like, I ain't coming back here no more. They used to laugh at me. Ha, youngster, you can't say what you gonna do. That was like
Interesting.
mind-blowing, like, whoa, like,
Wow.
like, how can you not say what you're gonna do? It's like, you don't know what's gonna happen when you get out. Like, I just see how we have generational issues in communities and cultures.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was hard-headed. That's what got me in prison. What got me out was I was hard-headed. I was like, man, y'all sound crazy. Like, y'all just act like y'all got no control over life.
And then you got out and really made a strong decision and did excellent.
Right.
It
Yeah.
sounds like when you finished.
When I
by
got
the
back
time
in,
that
I
you-
get out, I'm on parole, I get back into UT against all odds because I'm hard-headed, right? But my grandmother had sowed those seeds in me.
Exactly.
So I get back in, I wanted to finish. I graduated with a 4.0.
Wow.
So I went from 4 felonies to a 4.0. But then that's when it went into this point when I'm realizing like, oh, dang, like whether I want to or not, it's only whether I'm fraud or I'm not, right? Fraudulent, like authentic or not. Like I need to do more. Like this is the Harriet Tubman moment, right? Like I'm free. Okay, dang, they still on the plantation. Okay, so you know what I'm saying? It's like, and that's why, and nobody talks about this. Like that's a whole different show. Invite me back. Like let's talk about all the frauds, but let's not. It's like it's a lot of frauds. There are a lot of people, Harriet Tubmans, that made it. They successful. They 8 figures, 9 figures. They platforms. They influence. They getting it in. They can make a move and just get it. And it's like not like that hating, judging what somebody else should do.
Yeah.
Because it's like me. Like I tell you from the other side. Like just like you said, you get to these spaces and you 1 out of 10, right? I get to these spaces and I'm 1 out of 10. I get to spaces where I'm like 1 out of 100, and I like doing what I'm not supposed to do. So I know I'm not supposed to be here, but I'm grinding, and it took some years, it took some time, and I made it. And I can't wait to hook my people up when I get back, 'cause I'm gonna be the first one. And I think I'm 1 out of 100. And then I get in the space, and then there's 3 more. Bro, y'all been up in here the whole time?
Right.
Wow.
Ain't nobody know.
Like you ain't looking out though. And that's when that's fraud. Like you're not
Well,
real, you're not looking out, you just did you.
Say that.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? So nobody talks about the frauds, but
Well, that seems like a good spot, because now you're sort of living the extension of that. You done TED Talks, you've gone to other places and made sure that your life story is something that other people know, right? Not just they think that you are this image with no kind of background around like why it is that you became this man that you are right now. And so I know you said you wouldn't recommend prison to anybody. You didn't really enjoy it, but it definitely seemed to change.
That's not
it
the
changed
spot.
your direction.
Yeah, best thing that ever happened to me. I spent my life trying to keep black and brown youth from having to go through that exact same experience.
Yeah, that explains a lot of what you do.
Yeah.
And so that being said, it seems like it might be time for you to grab a guitar.
All right, we can do this freestyle now.
You can run up here and give it to him. It's fine.
Shout out. Also, I'm the
Shout out to Bianca. Thank
Shout out
you.
to Bianca. I'm the face of a movement. I get it. It's so funny. I'm an introvert.
Don't be kicking his.
No.
His guitar
I don't want to touch it.
Okay.
That's why I moved my foot.
This is important.
I will like to say that I'm an introvert. Fancy word meaning if you're given the choice, I'm just gonna focus on me. I'm just gonna do me. I'm content to be by myself.
Yeah.
But I realize again with that inherent responsibility, like this required responsibility, I gotta look out.
I would never guess you were an introvert.
Exactly. That's what I like to tell people, because they like, you just natural. No, I'm not. I had to. I talk to people like I talk to myself. Dude, shut up and do your job. Like. That's constantly I have to tell self. Like self want to be like, I want to just shrink back. I don't want to put myself out there. It's like, no, like it's not gonna happen unless you do it. I mean, I learned how to play the guitar so I could reach white people.
And here we are.
Bam. You know what I'm saying?
Now they're watching.
Yeah. I like to say that though because people live in boxes though, right? So they'll be like, oh yeah, like so he from the hood, he rap, I know what he do, and then they don't listen. And I'm like, no, I want everybody to listen, not just white people, but it's like. I've learned when you confuse...
But also white people.
Yeah,
right.
When you confuse people, like if they don't know how to put you in a box, as humans, we just want to box everything. So the quicker we can do it, the quicker we can move on. Oh, I know what you are, I know what you about, bam, bam, bam.
Right.
But when they don't know, they still gonna do it, but they like, I'm just waiting.
They're like trying to figure
it
it out.
I'm waiting, and before long, they like, dang, I still ain't figured it out. So, you know, I'm just a rapper playing this guitar, but so what we freestyling about?
We're just doing a little, we could do a summary of your life. Or you can just talk about whatever you want.
Okay, let's do it like this. I know my man Jamel is from Brooklyn. My favorite rapper, I shouldn't say it like that. My biggest musical influence was also from Brooklyn, Christopher Wallace.
Yes.
And now I'm from the South, you know what I'm saying? We rap a certain way. And I used to get judged then. They like, man, why you talk funny? You know? But I was introduced to Big. So anyway, I put some Brooklyn in it.
Hey.
But you get to give me a word or a topic. Like you get to throw one in the mix.
All right, it's on you.
It's on me?
Yeah,
I was going to give it to Brooklyn.
Well, y'all both give me one. So.
What you want, Jamel?
Blackness.
Blackness, I love it. Okay.
It's a good one.
And what you got?
Let's say about being free, right? Because you said you found out that you were free, right?
free,
So
okay.
blackness and freedom.
All right.
And Brooklyn and Iran.
And
All right.
Brooklyn and Iran. All of that. If we could do this,
Yeah, right.
I'm ready now.
All right, check it out. Let me see. My clique, my posse, my clan. World star nowadays, that's Iran.
Hey.
Some people like Trump, yeah, that's my man. I'm like, no comprende, I don't understand, yeah. They playing, with people's lives. I'm trying to survive, I'm trying to stay alive. On the cold, I don't deal with the wagness. Throwing up my fist, representing my blackness. Let's get at this. Lackluster, I never do that. My whole clique is lackbusters. I keep it moving, yes, I'm getting my mail. I went to Brooklyn with Biggie and Jamel. Biggie was in the dream, he was next to me. Chantel right here, check it out, you can't move me. We do our thing, you know, my life's like a movie. That's the reason why I keep it soulful, meaning groovy. What's the last one that I didn't use? What did you say? Freedom, choose. It's a choice. Every time I'm holding it down, break it down like enzymes. It's all in my rhymes. I'm giving them wisdom. I'm taking what I'm giving, flipping it, then I twist them. I don't stop, and nope, I won't lose. Said it twice, freedom, that's what I'm gonna choose.
Hey. That was dope.
All right, go. Keep playing. We're gonna play out to the transition. All right, y'all.
Don't do it like that. We about to.
With SaulPaul on the Culture Dome, we about to come right back after this break with Jamel and Chantel and SaulPaul playing the guitar. Young boss.
That was high. Salute.
My name is Sophia Chang, and I'm the baddest bitch in the room. Thanks for watching the Culture Dome on Young Boss Media.
Welcome back to the Culture Dome on Young Boss Media. We are here with SaulPaul and Jamel Henderson. And so we're going to get into the games. That's the easiest part of the show. The lightest part of the show. And so in sort of, you know, some sort of respect and ode to your math skills, which we didn't really touch on, but just so you know, they're there. We are playing a game called Price-titution. How much would it take? Right? So it really is just a question of, they say everybody has a price, right? And I really wonder, we're gonna ask you about some already pretty rich people and what you think the price tag would be for the task. And we're asking both of you guys. So Jamel, you're in there too.
All right.
All right, you can guess the price tag on how much it would take. All right. I always wish that we had.
Think about you.
I always wish that we had music so that I could just be like, duh, duh, duh.
Anyway, I got some trash. You can use one.
Keeping that in mind. So, how much would it take for Beyonce to come to your house and fry you some chicken?
Oh, sweet Lord.
Well, she already got hot sauce in the bag.
She already has hot sauce in the bag.
You know what I'm saying?
So how much would it take, do you think?
I don't know, man. I think, I might be able to finesse it. She's from the H. I'm from the H.
Right. So for you, the
I'm
price
gonna try
tag
to
might be
figure
different.
out, you know, so I'm trying to figure out who we know. I met her daddy, but I don't know where that's at. But
shout out to Papa Knowles.
you should ask. I'll be slick. I'll be like,
What do you think, Jamel?
What's your price tag?
I'm gonna be honest. I think because I
So
know.
SaulPaul thinks there is no price but a donation to an organization.
Yeah, I'm
that
like-
might be the PR, the optics that you
you know
need
what I'm
to get
saying?
that
Like,
chicken
yeah,
fried. What you think of Jamel?
I think for me, because I know how I am, I can get her to come for $100,000.
I love the confidence around it. Because I know that Beyonce could probably fry some chicken. I know low key it probably kills her every day that she has to be on the diet. That
I
she's
mean,
on.
100,000. Well, whew.
Nobody
I thought
thinking
you was
about
gonna go
it.
a different direction. He's like, how I am. I don't know if she could fry my chicken.
Right. Because I'm
No, I love me some good fried chicken.
I don't know if anybody but my mama can really
She might
Yeah,
use
you know what I'm saying? Like,
some special lorries that we don't know about.
I would be interested to know how it would turn out. Would it be all the way cooked through? Probably.
And I want to tell them about it. Like,
Are we gonna have undercooked
We
chicken
can't play
in the
with that.
bag?
You know what I mean? That's salmonella.
Anyway, so right, and how much do we gotta pay her to make sure that you don't get salmonella? She gotta do the taste test, and Jamel thinks 100,000. He could negotiate that out. All right, now how much do you think it would take for Mariah Carey, heel-wearing Mariah Carey, to clean your bathroom?
That's gonna count. She do a
Mariah Carey
Don't say
feels
my
like
jokes.
she might actually do it
I got
for
it.
the right price.
I got it. I got the answer.
I know he's well into 7 figures.
No.
You think
I'm gonna say less.
You're just gonna psychic
I'm
communicate
gonna
to
say
each other?
less because you know why? Right? Because this is Right?
No, give me a reason
She like
because
a
I want to know.
true diva, man. She
I will give
what I
her.
thought.
I think she will do it for 10 grand.
Wow.
Under the condition that I played the Mariah Carey Christmas album over and over
That's
until
the
it's
one
done.
you think she'd want to hear?
Yes.
Not Emancipation to Me?
No.
Not,
Hey.
not,
No.
not the early Lover Boy?
She will want me to hear the Christmas album. Why? Because everybody and their mama during Christmas time
And she
wants to
also
hear that
makes
album.
She just saying what
bank
number
off of
one
that
was.
Right.
Yeah.
She makes bank every
I'll
time
be
that
in
people play that
Durant
shit.
all I'll be like, oh, geez, not this song again. She would do it because she know, like, people get tired of it, right? Didn't it come out in the news like it was the most annoying song during the holiday
maybe.
season?
It was most played.
Yeah, most played, but then
number
most
one.
annoying.
But you know, probably hand in hand,
right?
Right.
So that's
what
my
do you
part.
think it is? What do you think the price might be? You think
I think it's high. I think it's like 5, like
million,
5
thousand?
million, yeah.
5 milli.
5
Okay.
million. Because I don't like.
Yeah, because she got it.
She might not even come on the show if we ain't got the right mics. You know what I'm saying? Like she
You're
like
not wrong
the
about
true
that.
old school
Right,
diva.
throwback diva.
Like
Right. She can
so-
hit the high notes, so she gets to be difficult. That's what they say. So the third thing is, how much do you think it would take Donald Trump to come show you his taxes personally?
Oh.
How much money do you think it would take?
So the federal budget is 20 trillion, right?
Yeesh.
I'm gonna add another trillion to that. That means, in
Dang.
other words, it's impossible.
It's impossible. Impossible.
That's what I say.
Never
He
happening.
about to be in and out, and we still ain't seen them
We
things.
still ain't seen it.
Congress been trying by law, and they still won't do it. This man is buck. I keep trying to tell people,
So this is the only one that's priceless.
this is the only one that he's like,
Donald
nah.
Trump's
What do you
tax.
think? This is me.
Because it's gonna mess with the money. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right, because right, you're right about that.
we mentioned
if
it
I'm gonna stop
earlier.
making money, then
if
we
I
can't.
connected to the beginning, I think we talked about it, right? Like he talked about how Obama
Yeah.
would start a war if he was being impeached, or the plan is, or whatever it was, right? Like the sneak that like it was a plan. He was like, yeah, this is what Obama gonna do. But he did it. It's not fraud that he did it. He was just like, he really was saying like, that's what I would do.
Right.
And now we got to see it, like that's what he did.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah, so he ain't gonna play with the money.
He
though.
ain't gonna play with the tax returns. Okay,
So,
it's fine.
priceless.
Now, how much do you think it would take for Tekashi 6ix9ine, notoriously known for being a snitch and former affiliate of the Bloods, to let you go through his phone and share the most incriminating pictures and text? How much do you think it would take? Because I think Tekashi might have a price too.
That happened already, didn't it?
Well, we knew what it was pre-trial, so we know what it is now. So we know what it is now that he's been caught out there.
That's a good question. I'm gonna say 10 million.
10 million? Okay. You like your nice even numbers, I can tell.
Nah.
100,000, 10,000, 10 million.
That's I'm gonna stay away from that. I'm too.
You got thoughts and feelings on that
yeah,
one?
Yeah, I got thoughts and feelings. That's too real. That's not even make believe. I'm like that's sad.
No,
but
he
I'm
would,
gonna leave that one
really
alone.
do that, and people would probably really
Yeah,
pay, to be honest.
Yeah.
So the last one is, how much do you think it would take SaulPaul to get a tattoo of a fan's face on his face? That's you.
Dang. So you talking about like old school Gucci?
Just like, right.
Old school, right?
Ice cream
right.
cone.
Before the drum, before the clone.
Right. Broop. Just a
Oh,
just a
you
little,
asking me? Yeah, that's, she must be asking you.
I'm
'cause
asking
look,
both of y'all. Really, I'm asking what your price is.
I hate to use prices again. I'm like, yeah, that's like.
So
yeah.
it has
How
to be
much would
a fan
somebody-
on his face.
Yeah, like a fan. How much do you think?
Oh
SaulPaul
yeah,
would
that's 20
accept?
million.
20
Straight up.
million. Does that
Straight
sound
up.
about right? That's the guess.
That's life.
That's the
Do you
prices,
understand? You gotta walk into Macy's with that on your face.
Right.
You shopping for
It's a
grandmama
face,
in
it's
there.
a face on a face. Yeah,
I
it's
be
a
like,
face.
what if I got a grill and then like it was a mosaic
Like in the early
on the
2000s,
grill.
like
You know
Nelly
what
in
I'm
there?
saying? Like I gotta go grill. I would renegotiate
Does this
on.
count as your face
let's
technically? Do your
negotiate a
teeth count as
grill.
your face?
I mean, if it's 2000s, early 2000s, yeah, they used to be very creative with the grills.
You know what I'm
so-
saying? Like, I like face.
How
like,
much
yeah.
would it cost for somebody to get you to do
But it said on your
a
face.
grill with
Yeah.
a mosaic of their face?
Ooh.
That's
I would take the 20 mil for that one. That one.
Dang, it would take you 20 million to do that?
That's life. You go to
Yeah,
church, you
we
praise the
talking
Lord
about,
like,
we talking about economic
Clearly, I'm
empowerment
cheap
over
because I
here.
was like, someone could have given me a cup of milk. Someone could just pay off my student loans.
Nah.
Sally
like-
Mae, look, if Sally Mae holler, we can do it.
How you-
How you tell your grandkids what that is?
I'm about to put Bernie on my face and stuff. Like, I'm
This
like,
was a twist.
whatever.
This is-
Tell me what I gotta do.
Yeah.
I know. That's why this is about rich people because my price ain't even. You ain't even gonna talk about this. It's shameful. Anyway, that's what living
So
in
the
New York
cheapest
would do.
thing was 10,000 for
10,000.
some.
The cheapest-
That was Mariah Carey.
For Mariah,
I would have to
while
be
playing-
tortured
while playing
by
the Mariah
hearing Mariah
Carey
Carey
Christmas
Christmas album.
All right, not bad,
Wow.
right? So that concludes our prostitution game. Suffice to say, SaulPaul, you're really not an easily bought man.
Nah, yeah, that's know your worth.
That's it.
Know your
Word.
worth. Hey.
So last and of course not least, our staple game, the conspiracy theory game. I like this game. We already came up with nearly a couple conspiracies before we got to the game today. So
There's a lot going on in the world.
and we call this the conspiracy theory game.
Okay.
So the way it works is kind of like two truths and a lie. I'm going to tell you two things that are actually facts but sound like conspiracies, which two are true and which
Okay.
one is completely made
Got
up.
it.
So here we go. Conspiracy theory 1. Memphis-born rapper Yo Gotti and New York-born hip-hop mogul Jay-Z are threatening to sue the state of Mississippi over a civil rights lawsuit saying that the state prisons are too violent and they're torturing people.
That's a fact.
And so, you don't even want to hear the
We'll
other
get to all
two?
three.
Oh, you want your all three? Okay,
Yeah,
sorry. I
yeah,
thought you were doing one at a time. I love competition. I'm like, let's go fast. Keep going.
As a side note, let me reiterate that there's nothing that I love more about Jamel on this show than how decisive he is.
Boom,
He don't
done.
even care what the other two are. He's like, boom, facts. I love it.
I was still right there.
10,000,
Okay.
boom.
Okay.
That's it.
Beyonce would do that, 100,000, cause I'm me. Anyway, so the first thing is, so Yo Gotti and Jay-Z are suing the state of Mississippi over the prisons. The second thing is that Pablo Escobar's brother is launching a foldable smartphone, right? So he also is planning on suing Apple because he thinks that the company, quote, is scammers and they're cheating people for selling worthless phones. So he's planning on suing them for $30 billion.
30 billion? With a
30
B?
with a B billion dollars. And that's Roberto Escobar, Pablo Escobar's brother.
You saw Narcos, right? Okay, cool.
And so conspiracy number 3 is that the New York coroner who declared the death of Jeffrey Epstein a suicide also made $1 million a year working for the Clinton Foundation until 2015. So this is coming out on the heels of people choosing the jury for the Epstein case that's coming out now. So
we're
which
picking the
one do
lie.
we think is not true? Because 2 of them definitely are. And so do we think it's Yo Gotti and Jay-Z suing Mississippi because of their prisons? Do we think it's Pablo's brother Roberto coming out with a foldable cell phone and suing Apple?
That sound like a throwback. Okay, but anyway. Flip phone.
Roll phone, so the screens can't break.
You know what?
He gonna patent it. And then the last one is that the New York City coroner got paid by the
Can I
Clinton
get
Foundation.
clarification? I feel like I should have heard about, I would have known about Yo Gotti and Jay-Z. But if it was just them two, but if there's a part of like the coalition, that might be why I haven't heard of it, because I know that they do work. So is it just them two? Or is it
So
like a
technically, Rock
coalition?
Nation's legal team is part of it. So which one do we think is the lie? We already know, Jamel, you think that the first one is true.
Yeah.
You think that
'cause
Mississippi's
I
getting
literally
sued.
just read it.
And so what else?
It's between 2 and 3 for sure.
So do we think?
Okay, so you know about the, so you read
what-
that?
I have
we
not
think,
heard.
We
You
think
know about the
Roberto.
Jay-Z?
I know about the
Okay,
Jay-Z,
so
yeah.
that's done, okay.
That was because
so
of
now
the movie Just
Jamel,
Mercy.
I've been traveling,
luckily,
so, okay.
because he's so in the
Because I
scene.
usually know, that's why I'm like, I wouldn't know
He's
that.
in the
Okay.
scene. All right, so he knows.
I've heard about the rollable phones.
The other two,
The
I think.
rollable phone, Roberto Escobar holding
think
it
I'm gonna say
down in Colombia, or do we think it's the NYC coroner getting paid by the Clinton Foundation?
I'm gonna say 2.
2 is false.
The lie.
2 is the
Yeah,
lie.
because I think the Epstein, like, that could be true.
It definitely
It's
sounds.
all it's all connected.
All right, so let's break it down.
Let's do it.
Let's see. We think it's number 2. We think that what's not true is that Roberto Escobar is not coming out with a cell phone and suing Apple. So let's see what was true. So number 1 was that Yo Gotti and Jay-Z are suing Mississippi, and they are. Civil rights lawsuit is coming up over the violence within state prisons. Specifically, they're saying that people are forced to live in squalor with rats that crawl on the floor as they sleep, having been denied even a mattress for a cot.
Not fraud.
Yeah, so not
Like I was
fraud,
saying,
absolutely,
not fraud. There you go.
absolutely thorough with their
Use the
freedom,
platform.
using
Hey,
it.
there it
Yep.
is.
And
Come
so
on.
the lawyer is Alex Spiro. He's Rock Nation's lawyer, and so there's a philanthropy and social justice branch of Rock Nation now.
Yes.
And so that's one of the things that they're taking on, along with Yo Gotti, who just is like personally offended by the state of Mississippi's prisons. So number
love
two is true.
Wow.
Roberto Escobar
What?
is coming out with a phone that costs $350, similar to Samsung's Galaxy Fold. And so it's unbreakable. He also plans on patenting the technology that makes it unbreakable and wants to sue Apple next month, saying that he's prepared a $30 billion class action suit against Cupertino, which is the company that owns Apple, for being scammers and cheating people and selling worthless phones.
Wow.
He absolutely would do that, and he's bold enough because he's an Escobar.
Hey.
And so,
Hey.
which means number three
Love your earth.
is, despite being one of the top shared stories last year, not true. Jeffrey Epstein's coroner was not working for the Clinton Foundation. There was just sort of a nasty rumor that got started, and a bunch of articles were spread about it online. So it is not just us who thought that was true.
That's your internet.
A bunch of people online thought it was true too. I'm telling y'all now, it's not true. The coroner was not hired by the Clinton Foundation, was not paid millions of dollars. That was not a fact. So, you know, I'm glad we put it out there.
Yeah, yes, for sure.
Please.
I learned something new today. Yeah.
Thank y'all for playing.
For sure.
Hey.
That
I hope
was
you
fun.
enjoyed.
That was fun.
You're
Yeah.
really an expert at decision-making games. So I didn't have you
Listen,
back
my
on
math
anytime.
teacher said, if you're gonna be wrong with confidence.
Hey.
You don't be like 32.
Yeah,
No, 32.
right.
That's exactly what that is.
Sell that thing.
Let's move it on.
So before we get out of here, let's make sure that everybody knows how to find y'all social media, websites, whatever it is you putting out there that you want people to find. So Jamel, where can we find you? Social media.
I'm on Twitter at jam_Henderson, Instagram JNA Henderson. That's my public one. My personal one is House of Henderson 1. I'm also on Facebook, and I have my website, jamelhenderson.com. So please look forward to working and connecting with all of you.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then
I love it. We
SaulPaul.
consolidated it all. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, SaulPaul, SaulPaul.
Simple
the
enough.
website, saulpaul.com. And they can email me personally at saulpaul@saulpaul.com.
Love it. Love it.
And download the app.
And
the
if you
official
have any
SaulPaul app.
questions, as was in the book, about the language that SaulPaul has used on this show today, any slang that you are confused about, any hood references that just
Forgot
went
about
right
that.
over
I forgot
your head.
there's a
because
glossary in the back, huh?
you were just here for the guitar, so like you don't even know what just happened on this show. Feel
Hey,
free to
hey.
also hit up SaulPaul. He loves that type of stuff. And so thank you for joining us. We got SaulPaul, rapper, entrepreneur, just overall beautiful human being and author
Non-fraud.
of Be the Change. And also Jamel, the Vanguard, which is on Young Boss Media. You can catch him there as well.
YBM.
And thank y'all for watching the Culture Dome on Young Boss Media. I will catch y'all next time. I said something funny,
Next
but
time.
I'll catch y'all
That's
later.
that Southern got into it.
You know, you're Houston.
Listen,
Seems
yeah.
stop it. Anyway, so I'll catch y'all the next episode here on Young Boss Media of the Culture Dome. Thanks for joining us.